Hello, welcome to the ABCs of Education. I'm Jerry Rankin, the host and the producer of the show. And if you want to contact me for any reason, if you'd like to be on the show yourself, you can send me an email at theabced@yahoo.com. And I'm holding two books here. The author is with us tonight. The second session, it's Jennifer Eifrig, and she's been good enough to come back for another show. And we're going to be talking more about the books, how it is to be an author, how do you folks want to get started into your book if you have an idea for a book, how to get published, how to do the writing, where to go find information on it. We talked a little bit in the last show about discovering Ren, and Beth read a little bit about it, and we're going to be talking more about the new book, and it's Shadow King, and it's a little dark book, and it must be a dark book.
It is a dark book.
Okay.
It is a dark book.
Very good. Well, thank you again, Jennifer, for coming back. And we left off a little bit about the Discovering Ren and your experience in writing it and getting the idea for it. And, well, let's see, how do you develop your writing habits?
See.
We all have habits.
We all have habits,
Yeah.
and writing should be a habit. If you actually want to be a writer, what do you have to do?
Every day?
Write. You have to write.
Write every day, right?
That's what Stephen King tells us. We have this Stephen King thing going on.
Yeah.
You can tell people you're writing a novel, but if you're not actually writing, you're not writing.
Very true. Is there a number of pages, or are there a number of pages you write, or is one page considered writing?
Yeah, no, if that's what you can get out. You know, go back to Stephen. I think he writes 1,000 words before he stops and takes a break in the morning. He's one of these people that, you know, I get up at 8 o'clock or, you know, whatever, and then I sit down and I work until he writes 1,000 pages. And then
1,000 words.
1,000 words,
Okay.
beg your pardon. 1,000 pages, good Lord. 1,000 words, and then he has a bathroom break or whatever, you know, coffee, and then he goes back to it. Whatever works for you, I tend to write in large chunks, but not necessarily every day. And that's simply because of my other demands on my time.
Do you get a flow in the writing?
Very much so. As a matter of fact, last night I texted my husband and I said, "Come home, I really want to write. These kids are driving me crazy."
Oh, okay.
And, you know, they're running up and down the hallways and, you know, they're putting their roller skates on and every 2 seconds it's, "Hi, Mom, hi, Mom, hi, Mom." And I'm like,
They have cabin fever too.
yeah, they do.
How many children do you have?
I have two. They're 10 and, well, almost 10 and 7.
Boys, girls?
2 girls.
Okay,
2 girls.
that's nice.
Yeah.
Are they avid readers like you are?
My older daughter is a very avid reader. She is in 4th grade, and she's made it all the way through all the Harry Potters by now.
Of course.
Yep. So she likes speculative fiction. Yay, just like me. I was a big spec fic fan myself when I was her age, and I write speculative fiction, so I think she comes by it honestly. My younger daughter is more into nonfiction. She likes to read about, you know, nature and animals and things like that.
Have you given your daughters their own copy of Moby Dick to read?
You know, I told them that story that I told you last time, and they just sort of looked at me, and never mind, honey, don't worry. No, nobody reads Moby Dick in 2nd grade.
Yeah, that sounds cute. Yeah, everybody needs to get out once in a
Yeah.
while, huh?
Yeah.
If they're using roller skates in the house.
Yeah,
it's
they're
time to go
desperate to
sliding
get outside. They really
Aren't
are.
we all?
I do most of my writing in bed, actually.
On a laptop?
Yeah, on my laptop. Yep.
Okay, no longhand writing.
No longhand. I try to kick everybody out of the house. I need quiet.
Okay.
I can listen to music if there's no words.
Okay, background.
Yeah,
Instrumentals.
Instrumentals is fine. Or if it's in a language I don't understand, then it doesn't bother me. But if it's anything in English, it's very distracting. And so I just sit there with my dog and my laptop and
Were you that way in high school and grammar school? You had to have quiet to do your homework?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes, very much so.
Curious.
I've always done all my schoolwork, my homework, my studying, I've always done it in bed.
And how'd you get quiet in college?
Yeah, that's an odd one, isn't it? You know, I waited until my roommates weren't around.
Okay.
And then I did my work.
Good. Okay, I want to find out, what did you do to improve your writing?
Right.
Keep on writing.
Keep
and
on
reading, you
writing.
were saying last time?
Yes, and you need to have someone read. You really, really do.
You need to have someone read
Someone
your work.
read your work.
Okay.
Yep. Because you can think you know exactly what you're saying. It's crystal clear in your head. And sometimes it happens that you have a reader and they're like, well, is this what's happening? And you're like, no, that's not what I said. Well, that's what the person will say, that's what I got out of it.
Interesting.
And you're not being clear. Oh, okay. So that's important. And it's also really important to know, if someone tells you, yeah, I really like the story, but that whole, page 20 to 23, I kind of skimmed. And you're like, ooh, that's where it's not a page turner. You
Okay.
probably want to cut some of that out or rework it.
Now, you say you write in chunks. What would you consider a chunk? Like 20 pages or
Yeah, I try to
5?
write by chapter.
Chapter, okay.
And a chapter, it can be anywhere from 3 pages to 30, usually. It, again, depends on the work. Shadow King is structured as a thriller. So there are, I think, 53 chapters in here. It's a fairly long book, but they're very short. They're very chunky, and it moves right along. Because in that kind of story, you really have to keep the action moving at all times. The one I'm working on right now, which is a steamy steampunk adventure romance, if you want to get specific.
Say that fast 5 times.
Yeah, I know, really. It's hard to remember it all. Steamy steampunk adventure romance. That's a shorter book, but the chapters are longer. There's fewer of them.
Now, do you know how long a chapter is when you start a chapter? Do you have an idea? Is this going to be 20 pages or 30 pages or 5 pages?
Sometimes I do. Sometimes, most of the time I compose in my head. And when I sit down to write, it's almost like transcribing.
Okay.
I do a lot of my best thinking in the shower or when I'm driving. Then I miss exits all the time. Whoops, there's my exit. And then I'll come back and I'll just, if it's still fresh in my head, I'll write it down. And so then I'll know what the pace is. Other times it's just exploration of discovery. We will find out when this chapter ends.
So everybody's different in that respect.
Everyone is different. There are what's called plotters and pantsers.
A plotter is what?
A plotter is someone who will have an outline. They know exactly what their story arc is going to be. They know the high points. They know when the tension is going to increase. They know when the resolution happens, and then almost to the word, how many words until the end.
Very organized.
Very organized.
And what's the other one called?
Pantsers, as in fly by your pants.
Oh, okay.
Yes, yes. And they're the ones that just write, and the plot unfolds in their heads, and then they typically do a lot of editing and go back and tighten stuff up and fix plot holes and dragging bits.
I've heard some writers say that their characters speak to them as they're writing.
They do become people you know. I do have someone in my writing group who likes to use the excuse, but the characters told me that this has to happen. Like, yeah, well, you're kind of getting off the plot here, And these are your characters still. You control them. You make them do what you want to do.
So when a person says, my character told me this, they're not going crazy.
They're not going crazy,
okay,
no.
They're just being...
They're playing with their imaginary friends.
Okay, which is okay to do.
Which is okay if you're a writer.
I'm a writer.
Exactly.
I can talk to people.
I can talk to people who aren't there.
Very good. Writing groups. We're in the Middletown area.
Yep.
Can you tell the viewers in Middletown and surrounding area what groups are available that you know of for people might be interested in starting to write, or the library, we went to
Sure.
Russell Library, and they have the Russell Writers. I think they meet once a month. And what else that they take new people on?
They do take new people. Well, okay, so it kind of depends on what you're trying to do. If you have a first draft of a novel already done that you've been working on your own, and what you're really looking for is people to read it and react to it and help you edit and refine, that's a different group of people than if you're learning the craft. if you feel this compulsion to write, but you weren't an English major, you weren't like me, I have ridiculously expensive and good education, and as I said last time, I can tell you everything about how a novel is supposed to be constructed. But not everybody had that, in their academic background. Some people are accountants, and they can write perfectly great stories. And if you're a poet, that's a whole other thing, too. I would start at your local library and ask, and see what they have to say. Again, kind of know what you're trying to do. If you think you have an idea for a novel, but you've never written one ever before, you want to be in a different kind of group than a group that has, experienced novelists that they're on their third and fourth book.
Okay, now we're talking about the book. Are you self-published?
I am not independently published. It's called independent publishing now.
Oh, okay.
I am small press published.
Small press published.
Small press published.
And how did you do that?
How did I do that? A lot of research. There are still, there's Big Five now, Big Five publishers, the New York-based ones. They have many more writers, authors than they actually need. So it's very hard to get a contract from one of the big five houses. There are, however, a lot of small presses, because the same forces and technology that makes independent publishing possible has also made it possible for small presses to operate efficiently. These books are print on demand. They're called POD, which means that Amazon actually does the printing for you. You upload the digital files. My publisher provided me the cover art, which I think is pretty good, provided an editor, and all the digital files, uploads them for Kindle and for print. And in return, the publisher, which is Cogwheel Press, gets a portion of the sales that are made, and that's the bargain that you work out.
Now, is there a minimum, like 100 copies to
I
print?
don't know. No,
Okay.
not nowadays. It used to be.
Okay.
Actual small presses would do that. They would charge you. You'd have to have 300 books or something, and it was very expensive to do independent publishing once upon a time, because you would have to have $1,500, $1,800, couple of $1,000 to invest, and then you had to do your marketing on top of that. And so most of those people never got their money back. But nowadays, if you can upload your files to CreateSpace, you can put a book out there.
How do you market yourself?
Marketing is tough.
Is it?
This is the biggest challenge that authors face, because even if you are a Big Five published, if you are not a Stephen King, a Scott Turow, Stephanie Meyers, one of those people, if you're not a bestseller brand, the publishers are struggling. They really are. They're struggling to make money. Print and electronic book sales for adults are down for the second year running. And everybody is trying to squeeze money out of everybody, including the author. I mean, the author is basically the raft that everybody else floats on. I mean, without us writing books, the agents, the publishers, the artists, they don't have any, they don't have anything to do. But they're cutting marketing out of everybody's budget. So you have to be creative. You come on lovely public access television shows like this. You tell everyone you know that you want reviews. Amazon has, which is where most ebook sales are made, about 85%.